Yellow.
Jim Bob, this is unacceptable.
Oh no, what now?
You know exactly what I mean. You're behind on your movie reviews again.
Look, dude, I have a life, so...
You call yourself a movie critic. You couldn't even review things for shit.
Ouch.
If you keep doing this, I will keep belling your phone and using my evil voice.
Yeah, very menacing. Spoiler alert! God, I am getting terrible with this shitty upload schedule, so I'm going to do my best and catch up with 4 movies which I really wanted to talk about when they came out in theatre. I'm going to ram them into this one video, give you a brief synopsis about what I thought about them, and give them a rank. Let's get right to it. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. So the plot is basically Burke is now 4. There are too many dragons, and Hiccup's dad, when he was younger, told him about a secret hidden world where dragons could live. And so they're pretty much off to that world right now to try and find it and build a new life because Burke is getting full. Main praise is the animation is absolutely beautiful, and the opening sequence when they first enter Burke. The camera pans over, huge scenery, and you can see like everything going on below, dragons everywhere, absolutely beautiful, and I'm a sucker for those kind of scenes. It reminded me kind of the Wakanda scene in Black Panther where they first go through the portal, or the shield thingamajig. You can see all of Wakanda down below. The same when Aquaman first enters Atlantis. Sequences like that where you can see the world that they created is absolutely fantastic to see, and visually this film is spectacular. The best aspect of the film by far is the relationship between Toothless and this new female Night Fury called the Light Fury. It's about character growth, and Toothless, he hasn't got a girlfriend, has he? Hiccup has. And so that aspect kind of felt forced at the same time. Like, when I saw the trailer I was like, oh, a girl Night Fury. Of course, Toothless needs a love interest, doesn't he? The idea feels a bit forced, but when it's portrayed on the screen, seeing these two characters interact, and like when Toothless is trying to woo this girl, he's like doing weird dances, and it's absolutely hilarious. But despite the animation and all of its glory and the relationship between Toothless and this Light Fury, also the relationship between Toothless and Hiccup, this film does have a big hiccup, no pun intended. It's the villain. The villain is shit. He's the bad guy because he can be bad. He wants to kill all the dragons and you don't even know why he wants to do it. There is no development there whatsoever. Okay, maybe there is. Maybe I'm just over-exaggerating and just being a dick. No, I probably am. But no, Grimmel is not an interesting villain. I don't really think that the film needed him to be in this film specifically. But without a villain, there's going to be no drama, there's going to be no, thing that takes place, there's going to be no action sequences, there's going to be no threat. So there has to be a villain, and they just sort of it felt like they sort of ran this one idea into it and thought, we'll just go with that. Whether there's not enough depth to it or not, we're just going to go with it because we need a villain. But overall, I thought the film was an absolute spectacular visual masterpiece, and it needs to stop at this point. With the way they've ended it, to just bring out another one would just be incredibly forced, and it doesn't need to happen. So please, DreamWorks, keep it the way it is. You've ended a near perfect trilogy. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World gets a C+. Escape Room. So Escape Room, 6 people who have been through trauma in the past have been selected to take part in this escape room. Obviously, people know what escape rooms are. They're actually pretty fun to do. But this one, it's real. The traps are real, the threat is real. You could actually die in these. And I'm a sucker for that Saw nostalgia sort of stuff. I thought the traps were really cleverly thought out of. And to my surprise, the characters, they didn't make stupid decisions like in most horror films like this. The usual cliche teens that just go into these sequences and do stupid things to get themselves killed. No disrespect to Truth or Dare. That film deserves everything it gets! Really, that film's so bad it's a guilty pleasure. So it was quite a suspenseful film when it came to the traps and how the characters had to work together to try and get away from it and stuff like that. I haven't seen every Saw film, so I don't know whether there's any anything that's copied it sort of or got ideas from it. Well, clearly the whole idea of the whole thing came from Saw. But what is cliche about this film are the characters. The characters are the most cliche thing about the entire thing. You've got the washed away nerd who thinks he knows everything and he's killed off straight away. You've got the quiet character who realises there's some potential within them and they have to rise above the odds and save everybody. A character who's reasonable and relatively older than the rest. You have the asshole character. You have the character who's a complete psychopath who will turn on you. And you have the likeable badass. This film has every single one of those characters, and it's nothing new we've seen before. But the film was actually pretty suspenseful, and I find myself highly entertained by it. But what really bummed me out was towards the end when you found out that the traps, spoiler by the way, the traps are actual or like virtual reality sort of thing. Like these characters are not actually dying. They're they are dying, but not in the way you'd think. And that makes me think that it's not some kind of supernatural thing that's going on. These traps are rigged, and I think it may be the shock of the damn thing that's killing them. I'm not really sure how it works exactly, because the ending sequence, there was like a plane crash sequence, and when these two characters get to the cockpit at the end, the plane sort of crashes, but it's all virtual reality, and then it sort of pans out back to the area where these bad guys are, and the characters just die anyway. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I am interested to see where it goes from there. There is a sequel set up. Whether it will do well enough to get that way, I don't really know. Overall, I thought Escape Room was a bit thrilling, but it could have been a bit better in terms of how they portrayed the story at the end. I'm going to give Escape Room a C. Alita Battle Angel. Alita Battle Angel, she's a remade cyborg from an old war, trying to figure out who she is and where she fits in with the world, and while trying to stop an evil organisation called Nova. I have to praise the visuals and the cinematography in this film. It is absolutely beautiful. It kind of reminds me of a post-apocalyptic Ghost in the Shell world or a Blade Runner film. One of the best CGI I've seen. I mean, Alita, she's full CGI, but she looks exactly like the actress who portrays her, which is Rosa Salazar. The only difference I can see within their appearances is the fact that Alita's eyes are quite big. So visually, this film is beautiful. But then I get on to one more good thing before the rest of it sort of falls apart. Second good thing, there are some exciting and absolutely spectacular action scenes. Alita is a total badass, and she doesn't seem to lose a fight. She seems incapable of losing. She's just kicking these guys' asses. One of my favourite scenes in particular was the bar scene, where she's trying to convince these bounty hunters to join her sort of resistance against Nova, and she's kicking all their asses. So the visuals, the cinematography, and the action is all great, but where it falls apart for me, despite the positives, is I wasn't that invested in the story. The story is all over the place and a bit of a mess at times. There is so much going on, there is subplot upon subplot, there's too many characters, there's different storylines including bounty hunters, hunter warriors and everything like that. What's going up there in Nova, Alita and her love interest. There's just so much rammed into one film, and it's so confusing. Maybe if this was a TV show, then there'd be a lot more to be told and we can actually get some depth on some of these characters and what's going on. But then again, we wouldn't get the spectacular effects that we have with it being a TV show. So the story was a bit all over the place, and it made it a little hard to follow sometimes. Mahershala Ali is also in the film, and he's good, but a strange character as it is. The romance, I just didn't buy into it at all. I mean, pretty much towards the end, when Alita's trying to save the love interest, I forgot the guy's name and I don't care enough to research it. She's trying to save this guy. I generally didn't feel much for this character when he fell to his death, and Alita's crying her eyes out. The only character that I found interesting was Mahershala Ali's character and Alita herself. Everyone else sort of fell flat, and I didn't really know what to make of them. There's just too much going on in one film. But overall, it's an exciting experience to watch, and I'm going to give Alita Battle Angel a C. Happy Death Day to you! So the plot tree is back in the time loop, but this time in a different dimension. As always, I'm going to start off praising the film for Jessica Rothe. I think that's how you pronounce it. Is it Rothe or Rothe? I pretty much said the same thing twice, didn't I? She's fantastic, she's hilarious, and the best thing about the film, I believe that this film, with her not being in it, would dip in quality so much, because the opening sequence started off with this guy and he's just walking, and then the guy in the baby mask kills him, and then he comes back again. I thought, is this going to focus all on this guy? For the trailers it looked like it was about Tree, but then it gets a bit weird and the time loop is sort of shifted over to Tree, and then she's suddenly in this other dimension in a time loop. Stuff that happened in the first film is the exact opposite of what happens in this one. Pretty much you could watch Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2 back to back and not get confused, because there is a small recap about what happens in the first one at the beginning of this one. So characters which originally tried to kill her in the first one are now her friends, and It's just stuff like that. One of my favourite scenes in particular is the constant death scene. It's absolutely hilarious, where Tree's killing herself over and over again to try and find a certain sequence so she can get back to her own dimension. She jumps out of a helicopter, she jumps into a tree shredding machine, which actually says tree removal on it. She electrocutes herself and does all these sorts of crazy things just to end her life so she can wake up again and study the next part of the code. I found myself laughing so hard, and me and my friends, we just couldn't stop. We were talking about it for a few hours afterwards. Jessica is fantastic, and without her this film wouldn't be what it is. Now, I know this is a pretty average film, but to me, Jessica Ralph is one of the standout performances of the year so far. I did say so far, don't attack me. She won't even be in the top 10, but she is an absolutely fantastic actress and the best thing about the film. But what's annoying is the fact that they went from explaining what the time loop was. It's not some kind of supernatural thing caused by cosmic events, it's caused by a machine made by high school students. And it's a bit disappointing that they go from like horror and turn it into sci-fi. But the comedy is what shines the most in this film. Scenes which are supposed to be scary, they aren't scary mainly because the film is so goddamn funny. But I enjoyed Happy Death Day to You. It's not an overall brilliant film. Jessica Ralph is fantastic, so I'm going to give it a C+. So there you go, guys. I'm all caught up. Next week I'm going to see Fighting with My Family, so there'll be a review for that up as well. Tomorrow I'm seeing Instant Family, but I'm not really that bothered about reviewing that. I'll probably talk about it on Instagram. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day as always. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I upload at least once a week. Remember, you are awesome. Take care.